It was a tense week. I was anxious for Saturday, so this could be over. There wasn't anything she could say that would allow me to forgive her. In my mind, our marriage was already over. It was just a matter of time. Saturday, when it was almost time for them to arrive and I set up the DVD player, I told Betty I planned to show an abbreviated version to everyone if they didn't own up to their actions. The doorbell rang and Helen and her husband, Alan, came in. We introduced each other. Then, Steve and his wife Marcia arrived. More introductions were made and everyone moved to the den. I got drinks for everyone and we sat for some small talk. After about 10 minutes, I had enough and decided it was time to get started. I got everyone's attention and said, "Betty, Helen, and Steve have been working on this special presentation and wanted to tell us about it. Betty, as hostess, why don't you get this started?" Betty stood and looked around at everyone. I thought she was going to cry, but she didn't. She said, "I want to tell you a story. It's about someone who does things so out of character that you think she has lost her mind. In fact, I guess she did. She gave in to her most base desires. She was selfish, inconsiderate, cruel, and uncaring. She forgot about the most important person in her life. There's no explanation for the humiliation and pain she caused, and there's nothing she can say to make it right. She realizes that her actions have most likely cost her her marriage, her self-respect, and the respect of her family and friends. That person is me. Dan, I'm so sorry, even though that means nothing. If you're enjoying my content, consider joining my Patreon community. By becoming a patron, you'll get access to full parts of my videos much earlier than everyone else. Plus, you'll be supporting me to create even more awesome content for you. Check out the link in the description to join now. My affair with Helen and Steve was wrong in so many ways. Helen's husband and Steve's wife looked shocked and started asking questions. Betty said, "Please wait. This'll explain what we did. After you see this, you need to go home and sort this out yourselves." With that, she started the video I threatened to show. The room got quiet. Alan and Marcia stared in disbelief. They looked at their spouses and began to cry. Thankfully, the video was only a couple of minutes long. Alan and Marcia headed for the door with Steve and Helen close behind. I managed to give Alan and Marcia an envelope of everything. I wrote at the top, "For your divorce." They all left and I shut the door. I stood there thinking about what Betty did and said. She took full responsibility for her actions. I walked back to the den. She was still sitting there. I said, "That was some show." She said, "I guess it was." I said, "Did you mean what you said, or was that just guilt talking?" She said, "Yes, I meant it and I'm sorry." I said, "I have a few questions." She said, "I'll tell you anything you want to know." I asked, "How many affairs have you had since we've been married?" She said, "I've been completely faithful to you since before we got engaged until about 5 weeks ago. Steve is the only one." I asked, "When and why did this start?" She said, "I guess it started when I went back to work this year. The first few weeks are teacher meetings, conferences, training, and getting the room ready. I've worked with Helen for 20 years. Steve is new and just started here this year. As you saw, he is a good 20 years younger than us and nice looking. He began paying a lot of attention to us, telling us how nice we looked, that he couldn't believe how long we had been teaching. He said he hoped his wife looked half that good when she was 50 years old. He was stroking our egos. We knew it, but it was nice. It made me feel good about myself. The flirting quickly became sexual, and he began hitting on us pretty hard. Helen gave in first. After she slept with him, she told me how great he was. She said Alan never made her feel like that anymore. She told me I had to experience him. She even told me that you probably had an affair or two over the years and that I deserved it. I knew better, but they kept it up and I gave in. I said, "Why did you do it here?" She said, "The first 2 times, we went to a motel on the other side of town, but it was expensive and put us too late getting home. Marcia doesn't work and stays home with the kids, so that was out. Helen's daughter just finished college and moved back home until she finds a job. So we came here. They wanted to use our bed, but I refused. That's why we used the guest bed upstairs." I said, "All these years, you hardly ever let me eat your pee. And I had to beg you for a BJ. But you had no problem with Steve. Are you bi now?" She said, "No, I'm not." Steve talked us into doing it. He said we looked really hot, and he loved seeing us. Pretty sick, I know. I said, every time I even mentioned a thing you went off on me. You told me I was perverted and that you wouldn't even try it. So, I stopped asking. But, you let him try to F your? She said, Helen loves it, and she kept telling me how good it is. I watched them several times and she kept at me to just try it. She said I would enjoy it. So, I let Steve try. But, I couldn't relax enough. I asked, when he was F you raved about how great it was and that I could never satisfy you like that. Am I that bad a lover? She said, his was the largest I ever had. I won't lie, it felt great. It was different, not necessarily better. Thing with you is more intimate and satisfying. I started to say something, but just let it go. I asked, on the video, I heard you bragging about having cut me off. Steve said I is a wimp and a good C. And you laughed at me. Then he got the idea of, were you going to actually humiliate and degrade me like that for your amusement and theirs? She immediately said, no. As they kept talking about it and how I turned you into a C, I got sick to my stomach. It finally registered what it done to you. I couldn't believe that I was capable of that. If you look on the video, you'll see that after I picked up the room, I sat there and cried. I couldn't keep doing this, and there was no way I could ever try to make you do it. I realized I had to figure out how to end this. When you came home early, we were arguing. I was telling them I couldn't do it anymore. Then, you ended it for all of us. I just sat there numb. I couldn't believe what I heard. I must have sat there 5 minutes before Betty asked me if I was okay. Did I have any more questions? I just shook my head no. She said, then, can I say some things to you? Will you listen? I nodded. She took a deep breath and said, I can't tell you how sorry I am. I don't know how to fix this, or if it can even be fixed. I don't know how you could ever forgive me and trust me again. But, I'm asking you to try. I told you all the reasons why, but I know there is nothing that excuses what I did. I do love you, and if you leave, it will just kill me, but I'll understand. But, I'm asking you not to. I've thought about our marriage a lot the last few days, and I don't want it to end. It's just a shame I didn't think about that before I did this. I'll do anything you ask me to, if you will just consider staying. I'm going to tell you what I am going to do to try to fix things. First, I had myself tested for STDs and I'm clean. I hadn't even thought about that. But, I cut you off before this started, so you were never exposed. I'm only telling you on the remote chance that you will ever consider making love to me again. Second, I've made an appointment for next Monday with the principal. I'm giving my 2-week notice and retiring. If you divorce me, I'll have to find another job, but I can't stay there, working with Steve and Helen. Next, I talked with Helen and told her I wanted nothing more to do with her. I know what I did was my own fault and I made the decision, but she's not my friend. A friend wouldn't have done what she did to me. Then, I made an appointment with a marriage counselor. I need to try to understand what possessed me to do the things I did. And finally, I will do anything sexually that you want. I will try anything. I guess that's it. I don't have anything else to say. I don't expect an answer now. I just hope you will consider what I've said. I know the decision is yours. She went upstairs to the guest bedroom and closed the door. Even from downstairs I could hear her sobbing. Damn, this isn't what I expected. What now? In my mind, I had already divorced her. But now, I wasn't entirely sure. She told us all what she did and took responsibility for her actions. She answered all my questions without hesitation. She's willing to quit her job, dump her longtime friend, go to counseling, and basically do anything I wanted sexually. She begged me not to leave her, knowing that she didn't deserve a second chance. Did I still love her? Deep down, part of me still did. Could I ever forget this? Absolutely not. Could I ever forgive her and put it behind us? I doubted it. I went to bed, but couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it in my mind. I just couldn't see how I could ever forgive her. Then I thought, I'd put this on her. I'll tell her she has to figure out a way to even things out so I can live with it. In the morning, Betty had breakfast ready and we ate in silence. When we finished, I said, Betty, I don't know how I can ever get over this. I've thought about it and I don't have an answer. So, I'm putting this on you. You started this. It's your fault we are even talking about this. You tell me what to do to fix things so I can live with what you did. She sat there with a numb look on her face. I told her to think about it, and we would talk after dinner. Then, I left. After dinner, we went into the den. She sat quietly for a while, then said, "I've been thinking about how you can get over this. The only thing I could come up with was for you to have an affair." She started crying. "I don't want that. It would kill me to see you with another woman. But that's exactly what I did to you. So, if that's what it takes, do it." After a few seconds, I said, "Okay, but you have to set it up and you have to watch." Her mouth flew open and she started crying. "I can't do that. I can't watch." I said, "Why not? I saw you in action. It's only fair that you watch me. Then you can feel the pain and humiliation I felt." She said, "I don't know how I'm going to find a woman for you to have it with." I said, "It's up to you. This can't drag out very long. There needs to be a resolution this week. Let me know." I left and went to bed. Things were pretty tense all week. On Thursday, she said, "Do you still want to go through with this? Will this let you move forward so we can try to get back together? Because if it won't, and you aren't really serious, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to degrade and humiliate myself for your amusement. I know I don't have the right to say or act like that after what I did to you, but please don't do that to me. Please show me more consideration than I showed you." I said, "I can't promise you anything." She thought for a minute, then said, "Okay, she'll be here tomorrow at 9 p.m. She's yours until you're satisfied. And I'll sit and watch the whole time." She turned and went upstairs to her room crying. Wow, I couldn't believe she was actually going to do it. I wondered who she got to agree to this. Could I really do this to her, to myself? Would I have any self-respect if I did? She hurt me beyond belief. But did that make it right? I didn't think so. But I was going to play this out to the end. This would be part of her punishment. Friday, when I got home from work and Betty had dinner ready, we ate in silence. We cleaned up and went into the den. She asked, "Where do you want to do this? The guest bed or the den couch?" I thought for a minute and said, "I want to do it in our bed." She cringed and tears came to her eyes. Silently, she got up and went to our bedroom and began to straighten things up. She changed the sheets and got out towels and the bottle of KY. She put scented candles around the room and placed a chair next to the bed. She said, "You better go take a shower and get ready. I'll get drinks ready." Then she left. I showered and got dressed in gym shorts and a t-shirt. When she saw how I was dressed, she gave me a questioning look. I said, "I dressed for easy access." She dropped her head. We sat in the den and waited. Betty was fidgeting and began pacing. The doorbell rang and she jumped and ran to the door. I waited anxiously to see who it was. I could hear them walking toward the den. It was Helen. Betty said, "Here she is. She got me into this and agreed to help get me out of it. She's an excellent F. She'll let you F her." I asked Helen, "What about Alan?" She said, "He left me and is filing for divorce. I've ruined my marriage. If this will help save yours, I'll do it." She then walked to me and started kissing me. Betty sat down to watch and I could see tears running down her face. After a few minutes, I stopped and said, "Let's go to the bedroom." Betty quickly got up and led the way. She adjusted the lights and lit the candles, then sat in the chair. Helen started kissing me again. She dropped to her knees. I pushed her away and said, "No, I won't do this. Betty, even though this is exactly what you did to me, I won't do it to you. I never intended to. I just wanted you to feel the pain and humiliation I felt. I know it was cruel, but you deserved it." Betty sobbed, with her head in her hands. I turned to Helen and said, "Get the F out of my house." And I escorted her out the door. I went back to the bedroom and waited until Betty saw me and calmed down some. I said, "Betty, the bedroom looks so nice. It would be a shame to waste it. Would you like for us to F?" She said, "Yes. Please, yes." She flew into my arms and held me tightly. And we did. Later, she finally moved off me, breathing heavily. We lay there, exhausted with our eyes closed. After about 5 minutes, Betty went to the bathroom to clean up. When she got back, I went and cleaned up and got dressed. I walked back into the bedroom and Betty got a funny look on her face. She asked, "Why are you dressed?" I thought we might do this again. Only slower, taking our time. making love to each other. I said, Betty, that was absolutely the best of my life. And maybe in the future, we can do it again. But I'll never be able to make love to you again. And while I still have feelings for you, I don't love you anymore. What you did killed it. And there's nothing you can say or do to change it. I'm sorry this happened. I loved you with my whole heart. There was nothing I wouldn't do for you, until now. I can't live with you anymore. I can't live in this house anymore. I've already talked to my lawyer, and she should have the papers ready next week. I've rented an apartment and have already moved my essentials. I'll be back tomorrow to get the rest. She was furious and said, So, you planned this whole thing. You watched me suffer while I thought about you with another woman. You had me humiliate myself with Helen. You made me think there was a chance for us if I did all those things. Then, you sent Helen home saying you wouldn't F her, that you just wanted to hurt me like I hurt you. When you asked me to, I thought everything would be okay, that you were going to forgive me. But this was just your ultimate revenge. You bastard, you're heartless. I said, I guess I became just like you. Then, I left. After several weeks, we both calmed down and agreed to the terms of the divorce. Steve's wife threw him out and filed for divorce. I know some of you think I should have kicked Steve's ass. I thought about it, but he's bigger and younger than me. In a fair fight, I wouldn't stand much of a chance. In an unfair fight, I would, but that would probably land me in jail. And neither he or Betty were worth going to jail for. But I did manage to get in a parting shot. I made copies of several of the pictures. My favorite is of Steve F. Helen's ass, while Betty held it. I blurred out Betty and Helen's faces in all the photos, but I made sure Steve was very recognizable. Then, I anonymously sent them to the principal with a note that said, Do you really want this man teaching your students? He was terminated immediately. It's been almost a year since the divorce. Betty and I still talk and get together on special occasions with our kids. We've both been trying to put this behind us. We've both been dating, but don't have anyone special. The last time we got together, Betty confided that she missed us being together. Actually, she said she missed the thing we had the last time. She reminded me that I said we might F again sometime. I did say that, but I just couldn't. She told me to let her know if I changed my mind.